right up under me, it was a white girl. She got 24 months. I got 26. She got 24. But the lowest time they gave out was 6 months. It was a black girl. She had got 6 months. Because I was in the courtroom when they sentenced all of us. Everybody went to prison. Nobody got off with or anything like that. Everybody went to prison.
So okay, so your position in the whole ordeal was you was the target's girlfriend. Correct. Now these other people, the Mexican, the white girl, the black girl, and the Mexican guy, a white guy.
Let's go. Yo, listen up, everybody. Have you heard the news? Got a brand new show that's breaking all the rules. Started out from VA and now we on the move. From local to global, cause we got something to prove. We came from the bottom, now we at the tippy top. To hold it down for our people, cause we all we got. It's a cold, cold world, but we keeping it hot. With our future on the line, ain't no time to stop. All work over here, still we having fun. Yeah, we say it like it is, ain't no holding our tongue. Go get us on the team, yeah, we getting it done. And shout out to Travell, yo, you number one. It started with a dream that turned into a vision. The educated new generations is our mission. Ears to the streets, yeah, we steady politicking. If it ain't about the change, mind your business.
Now wait again, minute, wave your hands with it. Wait again, minute, wave your hands with it. Now wait again, minute, wave your hands with it. We top picks like we all up on the gram with it. Now wait again, minute, wave your hands with it. Now wait again, minute, wave your hands with it. Now wait again, minute, wave your hands with it. We top picks like we all up on the gram with it.
Now tuned into another episode of Wait Again Minute podcast. I am Gam, and of course I got my sidekick, my co-host,
Miss Go Getter.
Why you always say that every episode all low?
Because that's my name, right?
Okay.
You said yours.
Yeah, well, whatever.
I'm just saying.
Anyway, we have a special guest tonight, so we don't want to go back and forth, like we normally do.
We're gonna act like we have manners. Yes. Okay.
Good. Proper. So, Miss Sakeya, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you, ladies?
Good. So how was your weekend?
My weekend was very interesting, to say the least.
Oh, wow.
Were you busy?
I'm the editor of magazine, Street Elements magazine. And I actually went to an event. Trick Daddy had his 25-year anniversary concert for the release of, I can't remember the album, but it was whatever album Nan was on when he first brought Trina out.
Nan?
You don't know Nan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been 25 years. Like, where has So he had a really big concert in Jacksonville, and he had so many people came and just supported him. It was a dope concert. So I was just out there working and hustling and moving and shaking.
Doing your thing. Yeah.
Doing my
Okay. That sounds like an interesting weekend.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
I'm sure. So introduce yourself to our viewers and listeners of Wait Again Minute podcast.
Okay. My name is Sakeya Donaldson, and I am the CEO and creator of Fly Girl Approved, which is a fashion house. I'm also an author. I've authored 2 books under Fly Girl Approved. I'm an editor for Street Elements magazine. I am the founder and creator of Science of Beauty, which is a STEM beauty program that I created. And, I'm just an all-around fly girl.
Yeah, I see. You know what? Fly girl. Very much so. Like I was explaining to you before we actually started the episode, I saw you on another person's podcast, and I was very intrigued by your story, like of, all of what you have been through. And to be honest, I don't know anyone personally that kind of went through that thing. I know some people that were there, right at that point. And then it was like, oh no, I'm gonna go ahead and take this rap, So I was very, very intrigued. And I just thought like, how I too could have been pretty much there, there too.
Yeah.
It's very common, especially in the African American community. So for the viewers who don't know a little bit about you, start from with you in the fashion industry and stuff like that, and then kind of build us up to where you are, and we'll kind of fill in from there.
Okay. I attended Clark Atlanta University, class of '03, Panthers. Um,
Mhm.
and after leaving Clark, I moved to New York and I attended the Fashion Institute of Technology for a short period of time, got certified as a wardrobe stylist. And
Okay.
um, after leaving New York, I went back to Atlanta. While I was actually in New York, I had an internship at Jeffries in the
Mm-hmm.
meat packing district. And anybody that's in the fashion, they know um,
Mhm.
Jeffries in the meat packing district. So I'm in there one day, and Tamika, at that time, she was Tamika Glover. So Tamika Glover comes in. Now, I had been trying to get an internship with her for like a year, like from
Okay.
last year in college leading up to me going to New York.
Mhm.
And for people that don't know, Tamika Glover, she's like a image architect. I always say, I don't think she gets the credit that she deserves
Mm-hmm.
for it for the industry. Just because she married Usher, and once you marry somebody like Usher, you just
You
become
kind of lose, yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you
Usher's
become
wife.
Become
Usher's
Usher's wife or Usher's
wife, you know
ex-wife or
what I mean?
whatever. Mhm.
But
Mm-hmm.
she at that time, she was styling Lauryn Hill. Like when Lauryn Hill released the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, Tamika was her stylist. So all
Okay.
those Afrocentric high
Mhm.
end looks that Lauren was doing at that time. And at that time nobody was bigger than Lauryn Hill,
Right.
Right.
And she was also styling Usher during his Confession days when Usher was Usher.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Jay-Z and Missy Elliott. So she had a really, tight grip on the industry at that time. So she had came into my store and we met. And when I got back to Atlanta, I started working for her as her assistant.
Okay.
And that went on for like 2 or 3 years. And then I kind of branched out on my own. And I was doing wardrobe styling for, I mean, everybody. Like Nikki, she was one of my first big clients that I had
Okay.
got when I had went out on my own. And so I started with Nikki when she first came out, and we kind of started together. And I was with her for her first couple of projects, and
Okay.
um, Raven Simone, Brandy, Ray J, um,
Oh.
You with
T-
everybody.
yeah, Ti, Jeezy, Sierra, like just I
Mm-hmm.
was really moving around and working, and then I actually started with Usher as one of his change artists on his Confessions tour, so that was really big, and so I was just
You out there
working,
getting it.
yeah,
Right.
trying to figure it out,
You was grinding,
Yeah.
grinding.
finding.
Yeah. So now let me ask you this: being around those people, those caliber of people, rather, um,
Mhm.
how did it make you feel? Like, did you feel like you had arrived, like
That's what I'm about to say.
you were where
Mhm.
you supposed to be and you could handle it, or did it kind of intimidate you?
Um, I think in the beginning, it kind of did because
Mm-hmm.
my first, like I said, I met Tamika when I was in New York, and when I
Okay.
first got back, she hired me as her assistant. And the first video that we did was Outkast when they did their separate albums, the Speaker
Mm-hmm.
Box
Mhm.
Low. So we did a video with Big Boy, and it featured Patti LaBelle, and
Oh, wow.
we styled Patti LaBelle. And I think that I was just like, whoa, like my grandma,
Yeah.
like I grew up with my grandmother, like imitating her,
Mm-hmm.
dressing like her, and now I'm here laughing and joking, and it
Right.
and I think that was the first time that it kind of hit me.
Mhm.
Um, like, wow, you're working with people that you used to hang pictures of them
Right.
Mm-hmm.
your wall. But I wouldn't say I was like starstruck or anything like that. I
Mhm.
was just more concerned about doing good work
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Yeah.
sure that I was able to deliver and do what people had hired me
To
to do.
do.
Yeah,
Right. And especially, hired you because you know what you're doing. So I get that you want to make sure that you put your best foot forward because you want to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do so they can
Right.
tell other people,
Right.
correct.
about
They,
your work.
they could keep you coming back and see, like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was really kind of like, I'm not gonna say shy, but I
Mhm.
just really didn't want to be in front of the camera. And so, like, during my era, like when I
Mhm.
first started out, I don't know if you guys remember this show that used to come on MTV called Making the Video, where they would like be on a video set and they would like
Mhm.
show the behind the scenes of the video. So a lot of the projects that I was working on, because I was working with such big artists,
Right.
were always there. And they were like, well, we want to
Mhm.
interview the stylist. And I'm like, like, because ain't no telling how I'm looking.
Right. You ain't want no
I'm
problems.
yeah, I'm coming to work in sweatpants. Because
Right.
people think it's such a glamorous job, and you just get no, honey.
Yeah.
You toting boxes, you hanging up stuff, you running, you jumping, you on the floor, you taping up shoes,
Yeah.
you pinning people in clothes, zippers is breaking. Like it ain't
Yeah.
that at all, like
Right, right.
so.
Absolutely. And that's what I tell people, excuse me for cutting across you. That's what I tell people about like media. Like they think that,
Yeah.
like you always in front of the camera. No, you behind the camera sweating and it's a lot going on, but
Yeah,
people just see what they see,
Right.
yeah,
which is absolutely crazy sometimes.
yeah.
So you are working for the stars and you're in your element doing you, and then what happens after there? Like what happens after you're in? Because
Well,
you back to Atlanta, right?
yeah. So I'm in
Okay.
Atlanta. And I'm working. Like I did things kind of off that,
Mhm.
like I had a retail space
Okay.
um where I sold women's clothes in Atlanta. I was the editor for a magazine. I was the editor at large for Control magazine, which was a fashion-based magazine in Atlanta, and we did a lot
Mhm.
of things for Control. I opened a nightclub in
Oh
Atlanta.
wow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
What was the
period.
name of the nightclub?
It was called Miss Lounge, and it was in Chambly. And
Oh,
Okay.
actually,
okay.
Miss was like nowadays, lounges are the thing, right? Like
Mhm.
Mhm.
people always want to go to lounges, but
Yeah.
with me and the guy that I was dating at that time, he was actually the first one to open up a lounge in Atlanta. Like before him, it
Mhm.
was like you had to have a club that hold 2,000 people for it to
Okay.
but he opened, this small, intimate
Mhm.
place, and it was just well designed. The service was good. And I mean, he made a killing. Like, it was
Mhm.
crazy. He was actually the first person to put hookahs in the club. Just think
Oh,
about
you
Oh,
what,
wow.
serious? Yeah.
no cap. Like,
Yeah.
any from Atlanta that was on the club scene at that time, like they'll tell you. So he was very, very instrumental in changing the landscape of how people partied in
Mhm.
Mhm.
Atlanta. And
Right.
so I did that with him for a few years, but everything, it just always came back to fashion. Like, even though I would be like, oh, I'm retired, I don't want to do this anymore,
Yeah.
running around. I don't want to be hanging out with these young kids. I want to be home. I don't want to be
Yeah.
on the road. I was getting older. I wanted to have kids. So I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. But then it always kind of just led back to the fashion side.
Fashion,
Right.
yeah. Yeah. Wow. So you were living
Like a fast life. You was
yeah.
living in the it was pretty much like the entertainment. Would you say you was in the industry?
Yeah.
Because in Atlanta they call it the industry.
Yeah.
So
I was
you
so
had the
I was
clubs, you was
10 toes down.
styling. You said what?
I was 10 toes down in the industry.
Right, right. Because that you dress them up so they can go to the club. Pretty
I
much.
won't
Like, okay, let me dress you. You going over here to this club. We're gonna party a little bit.
Yeah.
I
Don't
want
Yeah.
spend your money twice.
I
Right.
Yeah,
want
yeah.
for sure.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Oh yeah, I can get that though. I mean, it would make sense. Like we're gonna style you, whatever. You're gonna do your event, whatever. But when you done it, come on through the spot,
Yeah,
whatever. Y'all chilling, have a good time, and break bread again. You
for
know what I'm
sure.
saying?
Exactly.
And then tell your friends the same thing. Yeah, I
For sure.
definitely get that. So you're there in Atlanta, and you're partying. I mean, not partying. You're living life. You don't have any kids, right?
No.
Okay, okay. So you're pretty much doing
You.
what you're pretty much doing you. Just
Yeah.
just having fun. So
Yeah.
now where are we at now? You're
So
back
now,
retiring and you're not.
now we're. This is about, the club was from like 2010 maybe to like 13,
Okay.
and then, I'm back, just working. I actually broke up with the gentleman that I had the club, and now I'm just out working, moving around, and I meet this other guy from
Mhm.
Alabama, and that's how I ended up in the situation that you had spoke about from
Right.
the podcast. So we're dating, and I knew what he did,
Yeah.
for a living, but it was just like, hey, you doing that, I'm doing
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
You live in Alabama, I live in Atlanta. When you come to Atlanta, we hang out, we do what we do. Whatever you
Mhm.
got going on down there is just, what you got going on down there.
Right.
Right.
So when he would come to Atlanta and we would go out, he would just see like all these people that knew me, all these people that I knew, like how I was
Mhm.
moving around in the city. So he saw me talking to a guy, and
Mhm.
he must have ran into the guy maybe like a couple of weeks after that in the strip club. When I not running
Okay.
to, maybe saw him at
Okay.
Right.
strip club. So he asked me to introduce him, to the guy, and I introduced him to the guy, and they went on to, do business
Mhm.
together, and that's how I got caught up in his case, and they charged me with conspiracy.
So
That's crazy.
you introduced him to someone, and by you
Mm.
not introducing them to do business together, but just introducing him to the person so he can be able to speak or approach the person, pretty
Well, I mean,
much.
we know what time it is,
Yeah.
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 like we not gonna play stupid. Like I
Yeah.
know what he do, and I know what
Right.
he do. And if he
Right.
asked
Right.
to introduce him to him,
Right.
then
To put them on. Yeah.
2 and 2 equal 4, whether we
Yeah.
added or multiply. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I ain't even gonna cap and just act like we slow out here or nothing like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
But the thing was like he I think he just saw like how the guy took to me, because he could have
Mhm.
even approached the guy himself. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But when he saw how the guy reacted and interacted with me, it was like,
Mhm.
okay, smooth it out before I kind of go in and and make it.
Oh,
So after I introduced them, they moving and grooving. I'm not even thinking anything about it, because we're not
Right.
we're not
right.
about it. I'm not asking him,
Mhm.
what's
Right.
up with you. Like, it's just like, hey, this so and so, this so, this my people, this my guy.
Right.
Mm.
Okay, and then they go on and do what they do. And then probably about a year later, the guy that I was dating, he calls me,
Mhm.
and he's telling me that he gave my friend, the other guy that I introduced him to, a very large sum of money, right?
Okay.
And he's basically saying like, whatever the plan was with the money, it wasn't going how it was supposed to go.
Supposed to.
And
Okay.
so he wanted me to reach out to the guy, because he knows the relationship that me and the guy has. And he wanted me
Mhm.
to reach out to the guy and just basically see what was going on. Because he gonna tell him whatever it is to get him off his
Right.
phone,
Right.
but he
Mhm.
gonna tell me like what's really going on
Really going on.
at me, because they said that I not only introduced them to each other, but I was
But
like the middle person.
The middle person to smooth out things.
So
Okay.
my
You were the
charge,
connector.
correct. So I had
Yeah.
two. I had a conspiracy charge, and then I had one phone count charge, right?
Mm-hmm.
From that conversation, like that conversation that they used to put me in the conspiracy.
Oh, so they was listening to that conversation when he called you about that.
That's the part that I skipped over.
Yeah.
So the guy that I was dating, his phone was tapped. His phone was tapped. So when he called me, and when he called me, he was upset because, like, when I say this is a lot of money, he like, man, what's up, fans? You told me he was cool and woo woo woo. You need to call me what's going on. I don't want to have to go there with him because I know that's your people's, and this is how he's talking. I'm just like my first reaction was, well, you didn't consult with me when you gave him the money, like,
right?
Because if you would have told me that was your plan, I would have been like, I don't think you want to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you got people that's cool, but in the back of your mind, they susceptible to do something.
Yeah, that's right.
Something crazy.
So he was that type of person. Like, he cool, but I ain't putting $500,000 in his hand.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it was like, you didn't call me to consult with me about it, but now you want me to come clean it up, basically. Right. So that was the whole that was the whole thing. So I called the guy and I was like, what's up? Like, come on, bro, like, we don't play like this. And so, he told me what was going on, and then I relayed the message back to him and kind of smoothed it out. Right. And that's what they got me on.
Wow. So how did they? Okay, so from that conversation, what was the time frame of them coming to pick you up?
From that conversation, they came. That conversation might have happened in like March or April, because I know the NBA playoffs was going on. I do remember that. So it was like in April, and then they came and picked me up in August.
Oh my God!
Oh, so just a couple of months later.
Yeah.
Wow. So they were already building a case against him, and you just got caught in the middle.
Caught up, like they had been investigating him maybe for like 2 years, so they knew, when I came into the picture, they knew all of this. So it was like, y'all can't put all this on me, like, it seemed like, he was doing what he was doing, but then when I introduced him to my friend, now they BMF, like, that's how they tried to make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, make it larger than what it is.
It was real big. And you was the one that made it big. So basically they was looking at, like, they wouldn't have been this big had you not connected them. So you're a part of the
state lines, I think, though. I think that's probably what some do with state lines.
You done turned them on to El Chapo, and now they just
Invest in yourself. Wait Again Minute Podcast is now offering business shout outs. Contact us today to have your business shout out during our weekly episodes. Our podcast can be seen and heard on all major platforms. So can your business. Contact us today. Right. Yeah. They kind of cutthroat now. Now, when they came and picked you up, like, tell us that day, what was going on? Yeah.
It was early. The feds come early. And I had my niece, she was in town visiting me from Florida. So I wake up early anyway. I'm up 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning every day. So I'm up and I hear them knock on the door. As soon as they knock on the door, I say, that's the police. Because you just know. You just, they knocking away where the police. So
I would have fell out.
So I opened the door because I'm thinking they had the wrong house or something. So I opened the door. It's like 6 agents in full tactical gear, like guns, beams, everything. So
beams.
So I opened the door. I had a robe on, I remember, and they grabbed me and they pulled me out of the house. And then they asked me, was there anybody else in the house? I told them my niece was in the house and that they couldn't go in with my niece in the house. So they was like, well, call her outside. And so I called her out. She came out. And then they went in because they had an arrest warrant. They didn't have a search warrant. They had an arrest warrant.
Okay.
So they just came in to make sure nobody else was in the house. So once they did that, they took me back in the house and they let me get dressed. And then they told me that I needed to call someone to come and get my niece. I was being
How old is
arrested.
your niece?
She was 12 at the time.
Okay.
And they told me that I needed to call someone to come and get her. And they told me I was under arrest. They told me they had an arrest warrant for me. They showed me the warrant. And then there was one DEA agent. And when he said, you know why we're arresting you? I said, no. And he said, I'm from the Middle District of Alabama. And when he told me that, I knew it had something to do with the guy. And so I called my aunt. She came and got my niece. And so they take me out. Now, when I get outside of my building, it's like 20 federal vehicles outside.
So they looking at you like you was, did they think you was armed and dangerous?
They said that's protocol. Like they said,
wow.
They serve an arrest warrant. Like they had the building secure. They said they didn't know if I was going to try to run or whatever. Like, because I'm like, come on now. Y'all did all this for me, but they said that's protocol. That's how they come. So they took me downtown to the federal building downtown, and they told me I would go to court at sometime during that afternoon about 1 or 2 o'clock to see if I can get bond. So a lawyer came and saw me, and she gave me my indictment. So when she gave me my indictment, is to say I was charged with conspiracy and a phone charge. And so I'm, now I'm looking at the numbers on the paper, and I'm just like, what the hell? So then I go to court, and the AUSA is like, they want to send me to Alabama because now Alabama wants me in custody. And the judge is like, come on now. She's not the target, So they have something where if either side like opposes something, they give them 48 hours to argument or whatever for bond. So I had to wait 48 hours. So they took me to Lovejoy, which is it's down in Jonesboro, Georgia, which is the holding place for federal inmates. And so I think I got picked up on a Wednesday. So by the time I got to Lovejoy, it was like Wednesday night. And then I spent all day Thursday there. And then early Friday morning, they came and got me to take me back to court. So when I got back to court, the same AUSA that was there on Wednesday, she wasn't there. It was another. So he just didn't care. He was just like, whatever, like we ain't tripping her, you know what I mean? And so they granted me bond. I signed myself out, and they put an ankle monitor. Monitor.
Okay.
So I had restrictions. I had to wear the ankle monitor. I had to be in by 10 p.m. I had a curfew. I had to be in the house from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. So I could still move around. I just had to be in the house at 10, and they let me go. And that was the pickup.
So prior to that, when was the last time you had actually talked to the guy that they really wanted, which was your boyfriend?
Like the day before. Because he was in California. They got him in California. Like when they arrested me, they hit everybody at the same time. We had a 30-person, I think it was 30, is it a 32 or 36 people on the indictment? I can't remember. But when the feds up, they hit everybody at the same time so that you don't have a chance to
talk.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't have to alert somebody else that they coming. So when they was hitting my door in Atlanta, wherever he was at in California, they was on him too.
Dang.
And that's crazy because he way in California, so they didn't follow him over there.
Yeah.
And the whole time he had no idea
Nope.
It's like, did you have any idea or any intuition like something was going? You didn't have it either.
Yeah, because she in the middle. She
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
you know, sometimes when you're dealing with somebody, like I know some people, they deal with the guy. They have like a certain inkling about something ain't right. Because I had a friend who was pretty much not in the same situation. Almost she didn't get, involved in it. They didn't come for her, but she knew something wasn't right because she kept saying she was seeing these guys in suits all the time.
Okay.
She
Oh,
said she just kept seeing guys in suits and they were just standing there looking out of place. Wherever
yeah.
she's at, she would see them and she had a feeling like they was watching her, but they was looking out of place. But they would turn, they would never say nothing to her, but she was seeing them.
But I'm gonna tell you one thing about the feds though. They would, if they want to be incognito, they will do that. They probably did that just so she could see. They grimy like that.
That's what I was saying. I said, well, they must want you to see them.
Yeah.
But it was working because it was working her nerves.
Like they supposed to.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
It was working her last nerves and she was scared.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Yeah, so you are you're out and you're still moving, you're still doing your business and stuff.
I'm still working. Like anytime I had to go out of town to work or anything like that, like they go. I just had to let my probation officer know, like, hey, I gotta go to LA for this. Hey, I gotta go for this. Hey, I want to go to this event. It might not end until this time.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't really get in the way of me working. Because I still had to make a living. So they didn't hinder that. I was still able to travel. I was still able to, kind of move around. And I was on pretrial. They picked me up in August and I went to sentencing November of the following year. So I was on pretrial for probably about 15 months. And probably at around the 9-month mark, from August to April, because April of that following year they took my ankle monitor off. So probably for like 9 months, 6 months, maybe 6-7 months, I had an ankle monitor on, and then they took it off. And that's why I didn't think that they were going to actually
do anything to you.
Right.
I'm like, shoot, they done took my monitor off. I'm back.
Right. Because
I'm good. I'm Gucci.
Like, why would they take it off like that and then turn around and give you a sentence?
Exactly. So like that whole summer, I'm just moving around. I don't got no curfew no more. Like I'm free. I'm back.
Right.
You outside.
Yeah. And so then they're like, my lawyer calls me and he's like, your sentencing coming up. And I'm just like, oh, that? They still on that? Like, leave me alone.
I thought that was over.
And so that was the ordeal in itself. Because the guy, he went to trial. So there was like I said, it was 30 something people on the case. And out of all people, I only knew 2 people. I knew him and his cousin. Them, it was white people, Mexican people. I'm in the courtroom like, who are y'all? But that's how it is. So his cousin made like all these crazy statements about me, and he made it seem like I was like orchestrating all of this stuff, paperwork. Like, so this ain't just me talking, it's in black and white. He gave a price. And but like I said, they the feds. Okay, so they not dumb, they not slow. So they knew, what my role was. Like if they thought that I was doing all the stuff you said I would have did, my charges would have been way
insufficient.
different. You know what I'm saying? So that was a whole ordeal because my lawyer's coming to me like, Sakeya, like this does not look good. And I'm like, okay, this what niggas do. When niggas 20 years, this what they do. Yeah. They gonna tell whoever. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's your job, sir.
Yeah.
Right.
To prove that it's not true. You know what I mean?
So did they pretty much just use you as a like a target or to set an example? Because usually they know who play what part, and they normally let the girlfriend or the wife go because they know you really don't have a part.
They don't normally do that. I was locked up with a whole bunch of wives and girlfriends.
Yeah.
Really?
She watch a lot of TV.
Yeah, they ain't letting that fly. Because the thing about it is, like, first off, you got to look at where my case was out of. My case is out of Alabama, right? Now, they ain't really got much going on in Alabama. Like, a lot of people made their careers off of this case because he was a very, well-known guy. His family had been in trouble with the law, like his dad and uncles 20, 30 years ago. The feds came and picked up all the men in his family. So the people are telling me this, like, we was waiting for his brother to grow up because we knew what they were going to be. You know what I mean? So like the same thing that happened to him happened to his uncle and dad. They got locked up and did 20 years. You know what I mean? So his name was hot in the federal building. So they really, really, really went at him, like full throttle. So I don't think that they used me as an example because honestly, like what my charge was, like a lot of went in my favor. You know what I mean? The amount of money that was involved and drugs that was involved and things like that. My charge was very
minimal.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna up here and say like they railroaded me.
Right.
That when you look at what conspiracy is, and then when you look at what I did, that's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was sentenced within my guidelines because the people don't understand, like with the feds, that's why people always say it don't matter how much money you got. If the feds want you, you going to prison.
Yeah.
Because like state, you could kind of move around with the state. You get you a good lawyer, your lawyer is cool with the judge, and the judge is, cool with the DA, and we're gonna work something out. Like you gonna let him slide.
Right.
But when you could, my other clients, you could take him up through there, but this one we gotta let you could like
that's
that.
right.
It's sacrificial lambs. Like let's be
it
clear.
is.
Sacrificial lambs. But with the feds, it ain't like that. Like before you go to court, you go through a pre-sentencing interview, a PSI. That's what they call it, a pre-sentencing interview. And they just talk to you about how you grew up, your family structure, your educational levels, your work history, drug use, this, that, and the third. They ask you all these questions. And then they put together a sentencing report for the judge, and it scores. Like every category has a certain score, and then whatever your score is at the bottom of your page, then you got a range. So like my score was like an 18. So my range was 24 to 30 months. You're not gonna get less than 24 months, and you're not.
This episode has been sponsored by Crocker Funeral Home Incorporated, a new tradition of quality. 900 East Washington Street, Suffolk, VA 23434, a full-service funeral home. Contact them today for all of your professional needs. 757-539-7443 is the way to go. Crocker Funeral Home.
4 months, and you're not going to get more than 30. Now, if you don't have a criminal history, they're going to sentence you on the lower end of the guidelines, which they did. They gave me 26 months. Now, had I had a criminal history, they would have sentenced me closer to the 30 months. So that's why I try to tell people, like, people be like, they gave you all that time. No, they didn't give me nothing. That's what that's what my number came out to. Now, in some instances, the judge can go, he could depart from the guidelines, meaning he could go lower or he could go higher, you know. most part, 99.9% of the time, the judge is gonna stay within the guidelines. That way, he can't be accused of like favoritism or anything like that.
Now, with these guidelines, it's almost like even with when we hit the Commonwealth attorney, it's almost like even with lower level courts with the guidelines, they rate you based on your education, your background, your race, and all of that. Now, my thing is with these guidelines, some of the guidelines probably do need to be updated or changed because I think a lot of it do has something to do as well as how many points you get if you was the black person, the white person, or the Mexican person.
Yeah.
Your points can go up or can go down depending on your race, because I think that plays a big part along with everything else that they, calculate, whether you educated or whether you didn't make it to high school or whatever. So with that being said, and you say you had, now who, if do you know out of the 36 people who got the least amount of time? Was it you?
One of the girls, because it was like 7 or 8 girls on our case, I got the most time out of the females because I was the target's girlfriend. So they felt like I benefited the most. Right up under me, it was a white girl. She got 24 months. I got 26. She got 24. But the lowest time they gave out was 6 months. It was a black girl. She had got 6 months. Because I was in the courtroom when they sentenced all of us. Everybody went to prison. Nobody got off with or anything like that. Everybody went to prison.
So okay, so your position in the whole ordeal was you was the target's girlfriend. Correct. Now these other people, the Mexican, the white girl, the black girl, and the Mexican guy, or white guy, whatever. What was their roles? Were they like workers?
I don't know, because like when you deal with a conspiracy case, it's like they might be connected to somebody that my dude was fooling with 2 people.
So they got on just like how you got it.
He probably didn't even know all the people that was on
right.
Yeah.
But it's the attachment. Like that's what they do. It's like they throw this broad net out and then they
see who they pull back.
Because the people that are on the fringes, those are the people that's gonna help you get the target. You see that? That's
they're gonna seal the deal
with this Young Thug case. You know,
right?
People that are on the fringes, because conspiracy is a conspiracy in itself, and it's hard to beat conspiracy because they don't prove anything.
Right.
All they say is that you knew something going on, and you did something to further that along. I knew that they were in a drug relationship.
Right.
By those phone calls, I furthered along the drug business. So that's what I'm saying. Like when they were snatching people up, like it's like, okay, you knew something was going on. If you don't tell us what you know, we're gonna give you 5 years. We're gonna give you 2. You know, and you just like, like what?
Yeah.
What? You know, and my whole thing was like, look, it's not my job to do your job. Like, you know they doing something, prove it.
Yeah.
Why you
right, exactly.
See, you were the type. You're not a pushover. Like you are very aware what's going on, and you like, nah, like
I don't have nothing to do with it.
Y'all saying that, so y'all gonna have to prove that. Y'all gonna have to work for that.
Them people hell. Like you're not gonna play with me. Like I remember when I was in the courtroom when they were sentencing me, they, you know, the AUSA, he's talking like, don't let Miss Donaldson fool you guys. She's in Atlanta living this high life. And I'm like, I'm living a high life because I work for it, sir. Stop with me. Like, don't stop making it seem like my whole life is one big SUV episode. Like, stop it. And the judge is like, Donaldson, you can't do that. Like, sit down. And I'm like, y'all, I'm not gonna let y'all discredit everything that I've ever done. Like,
that's right.
This is what I did, and that's it. you're not just gonna put extra sauce on it to make y'all case seem like it's just more than what it is. I did what I did, and that's that. And I'm not gonna let you get away with just like trying to drag me through the mud. I'm not,
Right.
yeah, they understand me. And even the judge, like when he sentenced me, he was just like, I've looked at everybody on this case, and I just don't even understand how you fit into this. Like, I don't even understand how you got caught up in
the
this.
mix. Yeah,
Out of
that's what it
everybody
was.
here, you are the one that has the most to lose. And I was just like, hey,
that was my boo.
Yeah.
That was my boo.
Yeah. So now you've been sentenced to the 26 months. Like, so did you know early on, like, because they say like sometimes when people go to sentencing for the feds, they kind of already know what they're gonna get. Did you already knew what you was gonna
well,
get?
I knew what my range.
Okay.
Was. And so I was prepared.
Wow.
Prepared, but not really prepared.
I was prepared.
There's no way you can really prepare.
I was prepared, but I was hopeful.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because I know they had to be like a tough mental thing. From the time they gave you the sentence, how long did it take before you had to report?
They gave me 6 weeks.
6 weeks to report.
Yeah.
So what did you do for those 6 weeks mentally to prepare?
Just get my business affairs in order.
Okay.
So yeah, I got sentenced maybe, it might not even been 6 weeks. I got sentenced a week after Thanksgiving, and then I turned myself in January the 3rd. So I got through Thanksgiving, I got through Christmas, got through the New Year, but right after the New Year, I had to go in.
Right.
2019.
Well, being that you were the one that were out, out in the fashion industry and stuff like that, I know it had to be so, like a shock going into the system. Different. You know how they say like there is different from state, but you've never been to state, so you don't know, right?
Yeah.
But I just think from just talking with you, I know that you probably could handle your own, right? When you were in there. But just how was it mentally just going from, being around, all these people in the industry to now going in here where you got to share this and share that? Like,
yeah.
It was like I'm very good at compartmentalizing things.
Okay.
So I just I looked at it as like I just got to get through this. Like that's my thing. Like I'm not in here to make friends. I'm not in here to, do prison stuff. I don't want to learn how to crochet. I'm not doing that. I'm here to do my time and use this time to set up the next half of my life. Because when I went in, I was 39. When I turned 40 while I was there. So I'm like, okay, Sakeya, you've had a very good first half of your life, right? So, I believe in God. I'm a spiritual person. And, God tells me that my latter days will be better than my former. So if I've lived a great life up until 40, let me take the necessary steps to do what I need to do to prepare for the next 40 years of my life. And that's how I looked at it. I looked at it like, okay, not too many people can take a break in the middle of their lives to totally focus on themselves and really put a plan of action together. Now, granted, I didn't want to do it in Alderson, West Virginia federal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But if that's the pit that I was placed in, I got to turn it into the palace. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that was my mindset from offset. Like, let me use this time, focus on myself, work on the things that I feel like need improvement, set up my plan, set up actionable steps in order for me to succeed in my plan, get through this time, and when I get up out of here, it's up and stuck. That was my
and that was a good, I think that was a good plan, and that was a good way to, train your mind. to focus on that instead of focusing on the negative, turn that negative into the positive. And I think that was a really good plan that you had, because sometimes we do need to be set down. Sometimes God will sit you down. It might not be the way you want to be set down for that moment, but he'll sit you down however he needs to sit you down.
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
know, that could have been a moment of reflection for you, which it turned out to be, but it also could have been something that actually saved your life, because had not have been that way, it could have been a whole different way with being in that game. And then it could have been somebody that was out for him. And then they could have just been like, well, that's his girlfriend.
Casualty,
She know everything. Yeah. She know where the money's at. Let's get her. You get what I'm saying?
It could have been.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So that's a really good way to look at that, because now that you're out, so you did your 26 months, you had your plan, you came out. So far, you've been executing your plan?
Yes. So I was sentenced to 26 months. I actually served 20 months in custody, and then I did 2 months on home confinement. So when I first so when I was released, I didn't go back to Atlanta. So I didn't know that upon release, like, they don't want you to just go back into the world, right? Because I'm just thinking like, okay, I'll get me a place and I'll just pick back up with my life. And they're like, no, it does not work like that. Because, you know, you need to go to a place that's stable and, you know, could help you
Re-entry.
flow of things, entry situation. So I'm originally from Florida. I'm from Tampa, Florida. So that's where all of my family is. So they was like, we can't just let you go. Cause I'm like, look, I didn't ever tell y'all I had financial issues. Like,
right.
I need to get a place. I had somebody give me a place. They'll send the lease in, like, we good over here. We not
right. Yeah.
You know, but they like, no, that's not how any of this works, because there's like, you know, the place has to be approved. Somebody has to go out and check the place, and this, it was like all of this. So it was just easier for me to come back home. And it ended up being a blessing, like, in disguise. So upon release, I came home and I started working, because you have to have a job. You can't work for yourself while you're on any type of home confinement.
Oh, really?
No, you can't. You can't do that. You have to be employed with someone. So I started working for a nonprofit called a FRRC, which is the Florida Rights and Restoration Coalition. So that was really dope. Their mission is to get returning citizens like myself registered to vote. And in 2020, which was it was it was elections going on that year, because I remember it was a lot of stuff going on, and it was always news cameras and stuff at the office. So that was a good experience for me, because I was a returning citizen, you know, so directly to me. So I worked for them, and I actually did some advocating for them at the Capitol in Tallahassee this year, just talking to them about helping returning citizens get their rights fully restored, not just the right to vote, the right to carry a firearm, the right, because that's important in this climate that we're living in. So that was kind of like my first thing that I did when I got home. And then once I got off of home confinement, I just started, you know, back into my fashion, back, because now I could do things on my own. I didn't have to, you know, have a job. So I did that, and I just started executing. I started executing my plan and laying the foundation. I had a 5-year plan. I have a 5-year plan. So I'm actively in year 2, and I'm light years ahead of what I thought it was going to look like.
Oh, that's good.
Wow. So now, the guy, do you talk to him, or he's still in prison?
I actually just talked to him. He called me probably like 2 weeks ago. We had talked periodically because like people ask me that, like, do you still talk to the guy, or are you still, and it's like, I'm not upset with him for anything. You know, he didn't intentionally. Now, it's one thing if he knew what was going on and he threw it under the bus. You know what I mean? I don't think that he deserved what they did to him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he deserved the amount of time that they gave him. And he was always a stand-up guy to me. He was always a solid guy to me. So I'm going to continue to, you know, be that to him.
Okay, so how much time did they give him?
Girl, they gave him 35 years.
What?
Oh, they gave him time based upon what they gave they he was like they deemed him as a kingpin.
Yep.
Yeah. And then too, they probably their family.
They gave him 430 something months, 36 months, I think.
Yeah, they doing months. Yeah, that's
they make
crazy.
If you be like, okay, 12 divided.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
I just would have fell out.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's excessive.
That is excessive.
And it was 20 of those years was family ties. I guarantee.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, exactly what I'm gonna say. Yeah.
Is like by him going to trial, because everybody's like, why are you going to trial? And I'm like, well, they offered him 30 years and his PSI say 35 years. So I'm going to trial too, because if you go to trial, now you always keep your right to appeal. So if laws change, if things change, you can always go and get sentence reductions and things like that. If you take a plea, whatever you sign for, that's what it is.
That's what it is. So it's like a one and done.
Correct.
Oh,
so
he went to trial.
I'm sorry.
So he did go to trial.
Yeah, he did go to trial.
So he get the.
Yes, he's on an appeal right now that he says is going to take a significant amount of time. He's not going to do all that time, but it's going to take a while for, he might do 15. And I mean, I don't want to say that like that's just he's 15, like, because 15 years is 15 years, but 15 is better than 35.
Yes,
absolutely, all day long.
Exactly.
And he's already been in for 5 or 6, so
okay.
So he's been in for 5 or 6. Yeah. So when you only been in for 5 or 6, that 35 years is like, oh my God.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because if he been in 5 or 6, and he's thinking about 15 years or so, like he's basically on countdown.
Right.
If you've been in 5 or 6 and you talking about 35, oh man, shucks.
It's just like go to sleep, go back to sleep.
Exactly. Like
wake up, it's still the same. Yeah, that's wild.
When you're younger and people be talking, when you're younger and you see someone older, you be like, oh, you old. They be like, you wait till you get my age, and you be thinking, oh, that's a long time before I get there.
Now you that age.
Now that age.
Now you that age.
Now you
so
that
that's
age.
The same.
Wish you can go back a couple years. Trust me, I'm definitely there. So you are on your 5-year plan. What is something you would tell a female who is just like in your situation, dating someone? Yeah. What advice would you give her, if any?
Just don't. Just don't, because they not gonna differentiate, that you're the girlfriend, and they don't want to hear that, because in their mind, you know what's going on, you're benefiting from it. So it's just don't, because I, like, if you would have told me that doing what I did would have put me in a federal conspiracy, I would have been like, bro, you got to find your own connect. Like, I can't do that, but it's like, I connect people every day. People call me every day for everything, but you just can't connect 2 drug dealers, so that's just the reality of the situation. Now if you need a rental car or a hotel room or something, I might help you out with that. But you just can't be connected, drug dealers. So I would just tell, just don't, just don't get involved in it, because it's easy to get in and it's very difficult to get out.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Do you have any regrets? Like, is there anything that you regret? Like, if you would do a brief synopsis of your life, is there anything that you actually regret?
I mean, I don't like to use the word regrets, because if I regretted something, then that would mean that the effect of it didn't help me in a positive way. And I
True.
feel like everything that has ever happened to me, it might didn't look good at the time, or it might not have looked positive at that time. But when I sit back and look at it, I knew it was a blessing.
For your good,
So
yeah.
if I do say I had regrets, it's the fact that my niece was present when all of this happened, and she saw that. And because I know that really kind of shook her. Like,
Mhm.
I was like her superhero. Like, it's nobody
Right.
bigger than her auntie Sakeya, you know. So
Right.
to
Mhm.
see me being taken out in handcuffs and things like that, I would, if I had to change anything, it would definitely be that. But like I said, the time that I was there, you know, I would have preferred not to be, but I don't regret it, because it's now put me on a path that I never would have been on. Like, I had already always been successful, like in my career. Like I said, I worked with people that I used to hang pictures of them on my wall, but now
Mhm.
I have a purpose, you know. So
Okay.
when you add a successful, hardworking person and get them a platform, or get them a testimony, or give them, you know, a story, it's like, you can't stop me.
Yeah.
Right.